I think a lot of times it's just, before you get where you want to go, you really have to define that. We talked about it a little bit in the group there, kind of the keynote, but I'd like for everybody to make sure that we've taken the time before we get started to really know what we want to do, so that way we can learn things to help us get there. Because I'll give you an example of what not to do. This is a funny one. You can make fun of me, but there's a bakery that I'm part owner of. We make custom cakes, the stuff that we make cakes for Godiva Chocolate, Martha Stewart. If you Google it, it's called Icing on the Top. And I bought into an existing company. And the company's wonderful, but one of the issues is that the more cakes it makes, the more money it loses. Right? So it's like the more it makes, mathematically, the more it loses. Just because the way it was set up, the pro forma, the costing, the system, the whole thing wasn't scalable. And the more business we did, the more stressed out the lady who ran it was. And you know what I mean? It just kind of, so you had to sit down and go, okay, what are our goals? Our goals are for her to be home with her 3 kids after 5, for her to be able to travel, you know, for her to be able to clear a profit of this amount or more so we can basically franchise it or go to different locations. We had to really be specific about what we want. So I guess just for you guys, and we'll just focus on the business aspect of it, but with your business, can we just kind of specifically take just a second here, maybe just at the top, and write down a few specific areas we want to go to, a few destinations. And one, we talked about it before, the income goal that you have for this business. I think it's important that you do take time to write that down. Because if you know that you want to make $50,000 a year, just throwing it out there, how much do you have to make per day? You know, it's like $200 a day, right? So if somebody asks you to come out to their business to do a consulting project or something that doesn't pay you $200, you have to start to question, is this going to help me land a deal that will pay more than $200 a day, or is this taking me farther away? Does that make sense? Like, I actually built a cheerleading, I mixed music for cheerleaders, and I built this business. My wife in the back there, she used to be a cheerleading coach, and so, as a choreographer, so I have women come to my house and I'm mixing music for them, and I'm working like 80 hours a week, and I'm saying on paper that I want to make, you know, $400,000 a year, $500,000 a year, but yet I was doing $50 an hour work, and if you add it up, it wasn't possible to get to my goals at that income level. So I just want you to write down, just for a second, again, specifically your income goals. And then the second thing is, how many customers will you have to serve to get there? And I just want to make sure we're all thinking that way before we get started. So my main man up front here, sir, can you tell me what you do?
Run a computer company, doing consultation and computer repair and custom computer builds.
I'm just going to pick on you because I care. How much profit would you make if I signed a contract with you for the year and I hired you to fix computers? And by the way, my method for computer repair used to be just buy a new one because I didn't have anybody I could afford to pay to fix it. How many of you have done that? You're just like, I'll get a new one, right? So as long as I'm paying him, you know, less than $1,000, you know, it's worth it to a certain point. But how much would you charge me per week to just be on call for it to be fixed?
Per week?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, or to make it worth it, I generally charge $150 a month.
$150 a month? And so how many of those deals do you have to land to get you where you want to go?
7 per month.
7 per month? I just want you guys to think about it, because he knows that answer real quick, and for him it just, but some of us, we don't know that, and it's very helpful if we know that. I just want to show you a real quick illustration of my life, just so you know how disturbing it is. Basically, that's me. Underneath that's my incredible wife there with the twins, and then to the left of the twins and my wife there is Savannah, and there's me again having a good time. And then there's the DJ business that's kind of has an explosion going on there. And then you have the video business, and then you have, we do work with Farmers Insurance, and then we also, I write those ridiculous rap parodies, and we have our lighting company and a real estate company, and all these different things. And it's all possible because I've sat down and really defined what I want my life to look like. And so I just want to make sure before we start there that we dwell on this, because for me, I start every Monday at 5 a.m. I have my social media meeting. You guys, 5 a.m.? Yeah, 5 a.m. every Monday I do my social media meeting where I talk about Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and stuff I don't want to talk about. I hate tweeting, and I hate, who here likes the tweeting? Yeah, I can't stand like that a guy from 3rd grade is like, oh, we met in 3rd grade, I found you on Facebook. And I'm like, go away, I want to work, you know? So I just have to develop my Facebook strategy with Jared 5 a.m. on Monday. 6 a.m., then at that point we go into, basically we do a show called Adventures in Entrepreneurship. We record that. 7, we do video. 8, we go into photography. 9, we go into DJ. 11, we do our group meeting. 12, we begin working. You know, there's a set time, but that allows me to get home at a set time. So I can have all this going on, but I can still leave at 5. you know, as opposed to leaving at 5 a.m., which I used to do, and that was a great tip for how to make a wife angry, when she's so loving and supportive. All right, so you want to just write down, what do you want your day to even look like? You know, so we talked about your income goal, but what do you want your day to look like? You know, what time do you want to go home? If you have kids, what time do you want to see these kids? Or maybe we want to have kids and never see our kids. I don't know, but I mean, what is it? What are your goals? Because if you're not careful, they get to be 18 and they're gone, and then what happens? Okay, so write down you really want to define these things. Do you want to work weekends? Do you not? Okay. Now that we're moving on here, we're going to talk about, because for me that life isn't crazy, but for you it might be. For me it works because that's what I want my life to look like. But for you it might be different. We have 3 objectives we're going to talk about today. This kid's drinking from a fire hose, which is what I kind of think entrepreneurship is like. You're trying to take it all in. You got to be like the maintenance guy and the sales guy and the marketing guy and the SEO guy and the web person and the sales guy. It's a little crazy. How many of you have a business where you wear all those hats? You do sales and marketing. Isn't that crazy? Your friends ask you what you do, and you're like, or what did you do today?
What hour?
What hour? Yeah. How many hours a week do you work? You know, the lady who started Zany Bands and Slap Watch, she said, when I started the DJ company, she said, congratulations, you get to work whatever 50 hours a week that you want, if nothing bad happens. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, because you think you can work for yourself, but once you get into it, you know how it is. Now, the 3 objectives you have is, 1, if money was not an issue, what would you do with your time? And I'd like you to write that down. If you had no monetary constraints at all, what would you do? Now, for me, I would hang out with Karl Malone. I like Karl Malone. That's Karl Malone. I play basketball all the time. I record rap parodies and read business books. That's like what I like doing. So, you know, my wife and I talk about the business books that I'm reading all the time, and I'm always doing these ridiculous songs she has to put up with. And the last one I did about the Tower guy offended more people than liked it, I think. But it's just kind of a thing I do. I like basketball. But what do you want to do? I don't know. That's the whole purpose of it, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys. I love Mount Pleasant, and I love you guys, but like I wouldn't come here to do this conference if I didn't believe in what it was all about. You guys, I just want to make sure that with your business that you're not just doing it just to. I mean, do we really care about the economy? I really don't. You know, I mean, if everyone else is doing bad and I'm doing good, I'm okay. You know what I mean? I don't really wake up saying I'm trying to create jobs, am I? I mean, really, if we all just do our best, it helps the economy. But I'm saying, like, you personally, what do you want to do? Do you want to hang out with Karl Malone? Do you want to read books? What do you want to do? And a lot of times we haven't asked that question since we were 12. You know, when you're 12, you ask a 12-year-old, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to go to space, I want to see Michael Jordan, and I want to pet a gorilla, you know? And you meet a 40-year-old, and they're like, well, I want to get health insurance, and maybe, right? So I'm just being real. I mean, ask yourself, I mean, what do you want to do? Write that down for yourself. What do you want to do? The next thing here, as we move on, is if money was not an issue, who would you choose to spend your time with? You know, and that's a huge question. My wife and I, we've had these discussions a lot because Napoleon Hill, who's my favorite author, he talks about the mastermind and surrounding yourself with positive people. If you go on, I gave this to you guys, this handout. There's a project I have. It's called the Man Up Boot Camps. And for ladies, all it means is, you ever told your husband, like, man up, just take out the trash. Come on. It's just it's the idea of just get down to business and do what needs to be done. And this whole concept is teaching people what they need to do, and then they just get on with it. But on this side, I want you to go there to the site and check out some of the speakers. But over the last year, I've got a chance to hang out with Lori Montag, who invented that $40 million slap watch phase and the Zany Bands, and then Cliff Tolbert, the Stairmaster guy, and Jonathan Barnett, who invented OxyFresh. It's a carpet cleaning company, which we were talking about earlier. And all these people that are multimillionaires and success stories, and I can't tell you how much of an impact it's had on my life spending time with them. That's why I like reading those business books, because it kind of skews your perspective. It's almost like you have sunglasses on, and you put them on. Who used to own blue blockers? The blue blocker glasses that you could buy at the state fair back in the day? I'm the only one who bought those? Come on! Well, you put them on, you did, okay. And you put them on, everything's kind of like yellow, and you're like, oh, it's yellow, it's blocking the UV rays, awesome. When you hang out with successful people, it skews your perspective. They start to think in terms of abundance, they think in terms of opportunity, they're thinking in terms of like, they have that mentality, but when you're around negative people, what happens? Constantly. And just an example, like there's some people that could walk into my house and go, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened at work today. This person said this person said that. And I work at the same work. It's my work. I own the place, right? This person said this guy does this, I don't like people. And you're like, if you'd stop talking, like it would be better for everyone, because you just brought whatever that was, right? And there's some people that walk into a room and bring joy, and they say, oh my gosh, you would not believe what happened. This is a great thing I'm doing. Here's some, I'll tell you the difference. Positive people talk about the future in terms of it getting better. The future always gets better, but negative people talk about the future in terms of it getting worse. So just writing down for you guys real quick, what are some people that you need to spend more time with that are positive? I bet you in your life right now, you've probably got a handful of people that are really positive. And then you've got some, you need to skew your time so you're around those positive people. But if you had all the time freedom in the world, who would you spend your time with? I put Brett Favre. I know he's kind of a weird guy off the field, but on the field I'm talking. I just want to talk to Brett Favre on the field. Russell Simmons, my wife is kind of a sage. She basically is slightly smarter than I am in all areas. So if I have a good idea, she finds what's wrong with it. Will Clark, he played played baseball for the Giants back in '89. He was awesome. And Yoda, I'd like to hang out with him. I like to think he's real. And then Steve Martin. I love him. I love Steve Martin. I love what he writes. That movie, it's complicated, just incredible stuff. I love it. Love him. So these are people that I want to hang out with, you know? But I just want to ask you, who would you hang out with? Because it's very important that you know that. Does anybody here, can you think of somebody right now in your life that's been a super positive influence for you? You in the back? You got somebody?
My daughter.
Your daughter? Now, this is great. I'm glad you said this. You're a young guy, you have a daughter. I don't do what I did. My wife can give you an example of what not to do. I worked and worked and worked to make money and money and money. We had this huge house on 5 acres, like a 6,000 square foot house, and I never saw my daughter. Awful, terrible, boo, you know? And my wife was like, hey, sometimes you might want to be here, right? But I never wrote that down. And so the more and more success I had, the less time I had with my family. And ultimately, success is time with my family. You know, that's part of the equation. So I want you to write that down. The third objective here is where do you want to be 5 years from now? Okay? And I know we talked about it before, but really specifically, 5 years from now, if it's perfect, where do you want to be? Because this should define what you do every day, right? Has anybody here been involved in a multi-level or is currently involved in a multi-level that you don't like? There is good ones, but one that you don't like. Has anybody here been in one that you didn't like, you don't like? It seems like a lot of people I know who are doers, sometimes they'll get involved in this business, then they get over to here, they keep switching jobs all the time, and they're moving around looking for the grass is greener because they never found out what they want, so they're just doing what other people want. So it's important that you have those written down. And today what we're going to talk about is how to achieve these specific goals. All right, first off, before we get started into our action steps here today, if you were to define power, what is power? Anybody here want to define what is power?
Being able to do what you want, when you want, where you want.
This guy's a genius. Okay. All right. Napoleon Hill says that knowledge is only potential power. So what I would say is that when you go to college, they usually teach you the skill, but they don't ever tell you how to pay the bills with the skill. So you go there, you learn all about history, right? And then you show up at your first job interview, and you're like, I have a degree in history. And they're like, what do you do? Well, I can't do anything, but I know a lot about history. You know? So knowledge is only potential power. So I'm saying is some of you guys have awesome skills, but you're not able to pay the bills to the extent you want because you don't necessarily have the power there yet. You know, you have the skill. You might be awesome, but you just haven't been able to tell your story enough yet, right? Who here has a skill you want to volunteer where you're good at something, or you have a service that you offer that you think is awesome? You have a service that you offer that is awesome? The world just needs to know about it. Let's pick on you, sir. What do you do? Can you tell everybody?
We're more natural way to clean carpets, and we use a citrus-based product, and we go over with a scrubbing type machine for the cat hair, dog hair, blue carpet fibers. Go over with a modified German HEPA vacuum cleaner. Carpets dry in about 2 hours or less. Now it smells like a orange grove for a day or two, and we don't upsell Scotch Guard, Teflon, all the other nonsense that comes along with that. And we don't measure, we don't have addendums to cause extra hallways and that kind of stuff.
Now, this man is a man who knows what he's selling. This is great. Very few people can articulate what they do. He can articulate that. What we're going to try to teach you is how to get that out to the mass market, how to connect it out there. But again, if you learn this stuff today and you don't put it in action, that's a bad deal. Okay? So we're going to be talking about how to do it. First off, action is the real measure of intelligence, okay? So before we get going, I want to make sure if you understand that the most intelligent person in this room, according to Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie, are the people that do things, not the people that know how to do things. So according to his definition, I scored high, but according to the ACTs, I scored low. So I like this definition better, but standardized testing, I'm pretty dumb, okay? So action is the real measure of intelligence. All right. If there was a map to Success City, would you follow it? How many of you right now feel like you need to optimize your website better? Like it's just not top in Google. If you type in Charleston carpets, you're not in the page one. Okay, it's optimization, okay? I want you to, seriously right here, I want you to kind of, these are action steps. Let's write this down. We gotta get your site up top. I wrote a little checklist for me of questions to ask for you guys. So let me get my check sheets out here. Here we go. Rule number 1, never turn your back